This video. This was a guy who said he was a U.S. citizen fleeing from federal agents after they say he slashed the tires on one of their vehicles. You'll see him running away. He then gets taken to the ground and he tangles with agents while he's on the ground. It appeared he kind of lunged at one of them, and you'll see the aftermath of that. Take a look at this picture right here. Those federal agents ended up macing that man in his face, took him into custody and took him away. His wife was yelling at agents the whole time, saying he's a U.S. citizen. The agent said, too bad, he slashed one of our tires. And then take a look at these photos here. We do have photos of the vehicle that had the tire slashed. There was one puncture mark. It quickly deflated, and the agents had to drive out of the area on their rims.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have a lot of good news. I have some good news for you guys today, man. I want to cover a few things that I have on the table concerning, mass deportations, ICE operations, and everything of that nature. We're going to cover today the fact that a DNC lunatic has been caught for attempted murder on an ICE agent. We also have a situation where the $50,000 reward for the capture of the DNC lunatic that shot at ICE agents at the weed farm in California, your opportunity to get that $50,000 reward has skyrocketed. I'm going to tell you why that is in just a moment. And also, I want to take a moment to discuss the fact that to date, right now, according to Stephen Miller, 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported. They've gotten the heck on out of here because they don't want to have to deal with ICE knocking on their door and taking them in cuffs, to which they could never come back to the United States again. So before we get into all that, what I want to do first is that I want to address this. This is something that I've talked about so many times, right? Is the way in which ICE, Homeland Security, and CBP, I believe the acronym is, they are constantly on X, day in and day out, just debunking the nonsense articles, the lies that are coming from these headlines from mainstream media press. Look at this here from the Washington Post, right? Listen to just how much gaslighting there is in this headline. Here legally since 1999, thousands of immigrants have 60 days to leave. Thousands. If you've been here since 1999, you got 60 days to leave or else. And it sounds so dystopian the way that they write this, right? Because it makes you think about, oh, legal immigrants have 60 days to get out of here. Oh my God. But when you understand the reality of what this is actually about, gaslighting aside, look at what Homeland Security stated. Again, the T in TPS stands for temporary. I'm going to repeat that again. The T in TPS stands for temporary. Okay? It was never meant to last a quarter of a century. For many of these countries, TPS was granted in the 90s after natural disasters. Now that conditions have improved, it's time to return home. That's pretty rational to me. Once again, the T in TPS does stand for temporary, not a quarter century. It's time to go home. And speaking of going home, another thing too with the Trump administration, when you talk about the White House Twitter page and the Homeland Security Twitter page, the ICE Twitter page, their sense of humor is just amazing, right? It's truly amazing. You got to love their sense of humor because these guys are posting all types of memes to get their message across and just great, well-edited videos and stuff all day. Check this out here. Speaking of going home, right? Illegal aliens, take a page from ET and phone home. If you're here illegally, leave now. The easy way, using the CBP Home app, you will receive travel assistance and a stipend to return to your home country. And then you have this meme that they put up here, the little ET phone home meme that they have. Let me remove myself from the screen so you can see it a lot bigger. Then I'll read it off. As you can see here, even ET knew when it was time to go home. Oh man, they do this stuff on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, all day, man. They're doing this type of stuff and putting memes up all day. And it definitely makes my day whenever I see this kind of stuff. But concerning going home, right? Concerning that, it's happening. You know, the CBP Home app, which was formerly the CBP One app that Biden used to bring in a bunch of illegal immigrants into the country, for the most part, it seems to be highly successful, because according to Stephen Miller, as of now, close to 1 million illegal immigrants, if not already 1 million illegal immigrants, have already utilized that app to go home. Right. So I want to play that clip next from Fox News. Let's get into this now, what Stephen Miller had to say concerning the CBP Home app and illegal immigrants self-deporting.
Under Trump, all job gains have gone to Americans. Looking at labor force data, we believe there's already been 1 million self-deportations. Wow. So we are well on our way here. If we stay the course, Jesse, and if illegal aliens understand the consequences of staying versus the opportunities of leaving, we're going to see millions and millions more self-deportations. Because if you stay, here's the consequences. You face sudden arrest, sudden deportation, you face the potential garnishment of all of your income, all of your wages, the loss of your property, incarceration and imprisonment for immigration and other crimes. If you choose to self-deport, you can go back home. You do have the opportunity to apply for legal entry if you wish to do so in the future, and you're going to get a $1,000 check on your way out. So this is a very clear choice, and we're seeing over 1 million illegal aliens are clearly choosing just to go back to their countries.
You just can't have the entire third world piling into your country unchecked and unvetted. You wouldn't allow that into your own personal home. So why would you allow that into the country as a whole? Concerning the majority of Americans, which I'm a part of that majority, this is just sound logic that we all agree with, and we still agree with it till this day, despite all of the propaganda that has been put out there by the mainstream media, you know, concerning how much of a Gestapo and a dictator, a tyrannical force that ICE is, and they're ripping away families and so on and so forth. None of which is happening, right? None of which is happening. To this day, the American people are still overwhelmingly in support of mass deportation, as you all know. I've played this clip before, but I want to play it one more time, a shorter version of it, where it shows no matter what poll you read concerning the American people and their view on mass deportation, the jury's out. This is what we want, and this is what we voted for. Let's get into this video very quickly. It's only about 30 seconds.
Deporting all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times, Marquette 64%, CBS News 57%, ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no arguing with these different numbers because they're all essentially the same across 4 different pollsters.
I rest my case. This is what we want. This is what we voted for. You're right. And even some of the most hardcore of DNC lunatics like Bernie Sanders are being forced to come around to this reality and admit the fact that what's happening right now is right. And it is just, it is right, because it's only logical and it's only common sense. Look at this clip here from Bernie Sanders, where essentially he's bending the knee to mass deportations. Let's look at this right now, and then we're going to get into the meat of this discussion.
He decided not to run for re-election.
How concerned are you about these continuing ICE efforts that we are seeing? The videos of. A number of Republicans continue to say, Republican governors I've spoken to continue to say, well, look, they are going after the baddest of the bad people. We have wiretaps on people and investigations. I read a piece in The Atlantic that says they're actually pulling people in FBI or elsewhere in law enforcement who are actually doing investigations on really bad, people who are here illegally in order just to get body counts, in order to get the 3,000 people a day that Stephen Miller, has told multiple people in the administration that he wants.
Look, this is where I think the American people are at. If you are a drug dealer, If you are somebody in this country undocumented or has committed a crime, I think most people think, hey, have a nice day, you're out of here. And I support that.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, it's not AI. You know, this is Bernie Sanders in the flesh. One of the most extreme of the extreme that is now, you know, bending the knee to mass deportation. You know, I'm sure he'll flip-flop soon enough and go back to saying something else. But this is his current stance right now. But when you look at the direction that the DNC has shifted in as it's gone further and further into AOCism and it's gotten more extreme, I mean, I guess at this point now, Bernie Sanders is probably going to start looking more so like a moderate compared to the what's his name, Zorhan Mamdani's of the world, and the other guy in Minneapolis, I forgot what his name is, Omar, what is his name again? Omar, whatever. Let's move on. But you know what I'm talking about. You know, he's going to start looking more and more like a moderate compared to how extreme the DNC is getting these days, right? Check this out here, though. You all remember this situation, right? Where the DNC lunatic at the weed farm, where I believe it was 14 unaccompanied minors were rescued at, who were working on these farm alongside child predators, right? Being, you know, talking about forced labor at this point. You remember there was this DNC lunatic here who opened fire on ICE agents. Let's show you this video just for a little bit of a reminder.
There's a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters. And again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. It looks like he fired at least a couple of times. We have not heard about any agents being hurt.
Well, there was a $50,000 reward on his head for his arrest, capture, and conviction. And now we have a photo. We've identified him, right? We know who he is. Now, I don't know what his name is yet. I'm pretty sure it's surfaced already, just given the fact that his face has hit the internet. Basically, once your face hits the internet, it's a wrap. It takes but a matter of minutes before people start identifying you and knowing who you are. But this is the lunatic right here that was shooting at the ICE agent, at the ICE agents, I should say, or federal agents as a whole. And this reads here, FBI Los Angeles, the FBI is releasing a new photo in order to identify a suspected protester who brandished a pistol and fired toward agents conducting lawful activity in Camarillo on July 10th. A reward of up to $50,000 is offered for info leading to his ID, arrest, and conviction. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. So yeah, this is the guy here, man. He kind of looks like the boxer Ryan Garcia. Honestly, he has that Ryan Garcia look. You know, let me blow it up just a little bit so you can identify him better, and hopefully you have a better chance of getting that $50,000 reward. But this is him here. You know, this is the Ryan Garcia looking guy that was shooting at ICE agents. You see, he has a little tattoo right here on his arm as well. For those of you who don't know, Ryan Garcia is a boxer. For those of you who don't know, but yeah. The Ryan Garcia looking protester, you know, he's been identified as far as his visual, physical appearances. And hopefully, you know, either I or one of any of you who lives in California can get a hold of that $50,000 reward. I'm hoping that that can actually happen very, very soon, because I could use 50K. Okay, I could use 50K. Definitely could use it. But now what I want to shift to is here. This guy is one of, I believe it was 11 lunatics, possibly 14 DNC lunatics who shot at and ambushed an ICE facility in Texas, right? And they ended up shooting a local PD officer in the neck, right? They were trying to lure out ICE officers by, you know, throwing stuff at the ICE building. They were shooting off fireworks at the ICE building in Texas in hopes that the ICE agents would come out and they would open fire on the ICE agents. Instead, what ended up happening is the local police officer showed up and they shot that police officer in the neck. This guy was still on the run. Benjamin Hanil Song was on the run for about a week, maybe a little bit over a week, but they captured him. And I want you to notice this here. There was a $10,000 reward for his capture, but since the FBI caught him themselves, no $10,000 reward. So that's an even greater incentive for you to go out there and find, and have the 1-800 call FBI on speed dial in case you run into the FBI looking guy that was shooting at ICE agents in Camarillo, right? Because that $10,000 reward didn't go to anybody. Hopefully one of us get that $50K reward. But I want to read a little bit here from this article here, or I should say, I guess, from this press release from the FBI, just concerning his capture, who he is, so on and so forth, right? So let me transition over to this here. Okay, FBI captures alleged Prairieland shooter Benjamin Hanil Song in Dallas, Texas. An intense week-long manhunt for Benjamin Hanil Song, an alleged shooter at the Prairieland Detention Center on July 4th, has ended with his arrest by FBI agents in Dallas, Texas, announced acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Nancy E. Larson. Song's capture marks the 14th arrest in the case. Court documents reflect that Song, a former United States Marine Corps reservist, so this guy knew how to handle a weapon, joined 10 others in an organized attack against officers at the Prairieland Detention Center just after 10:30 p.m. Friday, July 4th. Song has been charged by federal complaint with 3 counts of attempted murder of federal agents and 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. The Democrats are ruining people's lives, ladies and gentlemen. They're ruining people's lives. The way that they gaslight everybody and just get on the media day in and day out and lie about the job that ICE is actually doing out here, which is keeping us all safe and is just simply enforcing the law. The lies that they put out, in which they portray them as, masked men who are bounty hunters, who aren't really federal agents, and they're Gestapo and they're Nazis and so on and so forth. This is what's leading to people with extreme Trump derangement syndrome, and now I guess ICE derangement syndrome. It's leading these folks to go out here and commit these heinous acts of violence and commit crimes that there's just no returning from afterwards, right? I think it was after this situation here at the Prairieland Detention Center, there was another situation in Texas where there was a DNC lunatic who actually, if I remember correctly, he shot at the facility in Texas, ICE Detention Center in Texas, and they ended up putting that guy down. Like he's no longer with us. You know what I mean? So DNC lunatics are literally destroying the lives of their constituents, getting their lives taken and getting their freedom taken forever. Because this guy right here, Benjamin Hanil Song, he's done. He's super finished. Let's check this out here in closing. Based on the charges mentioned, 3 counts of attempted murder of federal agents and 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence, the individual could face a very lengthy prison sentence, potentially life in prison, depending on how the court applies the sentencing guidelines. And I want to take a moment to go through that right now. Let's check this out in closing, ladies and gentlemen. Attempted murder of federal agents. Penalty up to 20 years in prison per count. For 3 counts, that's up to 60 years total if served consecutively. Sheesh. Discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. This is far more serious. First conviction of discharging a firearm, a minimum of 10 years. He was already doing a minimum 10 years off that alone, but he has 3 counts. So what does that mean? Each subsequent conviction under Section 924C carries a mandatory minimum of 25 years consecutive to any other sentence. So for 3 counts, first count is 10 years, second and third counts 25 years each. Total equals 60 years mandatory and consecutive to any other sentence. So total possible sentence, this is what this moron is looking at in total, right? Attempted murder, he's looking at up to 60 years. Firearm charges, Mandatory 60 years. I repeat, you're sitting down for 60, buddy. You're sitting down for 60. Mandatory. Total potential sentence up to 120 years in prison, possibly life, especially if enhancements, for example, premeditation or injury to agents are applied. And we all know that there was an injury to agent, right? There was a local PD that took a bullet to the neck. So he's looking at possibly over 120 years in prison. I mean, God, way to ruin your life behind DNC lunacy. Man. Oh, well, sucks to be him. And not as long as it's not us falling into that kind of, I almost cursed. I was going to say, as long as it's not us falling into that dumb, as long as it's not us falling into that dumb-ish, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. I got to get out of here because I could feel the profanity bubbling up inside of me. All right. So with all that being said, thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. That is extremely important that you follow me on Telegram. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.